We love a pre-recorded intro. Welcome back, folks. Today, the all-star Tabari is back, and he has a new book as well. It will be in the episode description below. And we love the support on here, so everyone go take a look at his book.
Hmm.
Um, Tabari. So we before we started this recording, we were talking about the law of polarity and the law of duality. So you said that you recently got into that. Now, before we get into our topics today, folks, which will be detachment and acceptance,
Hmm.
I did want um, to finish me and Tabari's conversation on the recording, just in case anyone else needs to hear it.
Hmm.
So, Tabari, take it away. So, you said you've been studying Chinese philosophers, and you and I mentioned the law of duality and polarity. Tell us a little bit about what that is, and then continue your conversation of the Chinese philosophers and things like that.
Okay, so basically, for me, I had to understand that I follow a lot of like what Ian Van Zant says, and a lot of things she said when she went to law school is that she believes that God has laws of the universe, and there's certain laws that we can't logically explain why they're there, but they're there. And one of those laws is law of polarity, which means that there's going to be light and dark. There's going to be wanted and unwanted, and that if a pendulum swings one way, it has to swing the other way. And I think when it comes to politics and like evil in the world, we have to go low in order to go high. And when we go high, it will go back low. Some people also talk about it, could also be referred to as the law of rhythm, where we have our highs and lows, our mountains and valleys. And that's just the way that the universe is set up. And I can't give an accurate answer as to why, but there is a balance that God has set up. And I think once we accept, like, there's going to be negatives and positives, we can feel more at peace.
Yes, gotcha, gotcha. Thanks for sharing that, Tabari. Yes. Um, so something that I think is really cool that you said is getting into, like the Chinese philosophers, getting kind of into
Mm-hmm.
that Eastern philosophies. Because I know here we're taught very Western Eurocentric philosophies, and I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, there's a whole other ball game, there's a whole other spectrum, there's a whole other world of philosophies out there that we weren't, taught. And I find those to be, very beneficial. And I'm just like, whoa, what? No wonder they don't want to teach us this. It's like, a lot of
Yeah, it's really like the Eastern philosophers or just people that have meditated, the gurus, the monks, they really have had like life figured out for thousands of years. And it's like a lot of the times in the West, through psychology and other stuff, we're just picking up on stuff they've been telling us to do,
yeah,
like meditate and to stay in the present moment. But it sounds really corny online, I think, now with all this self help stuff and a lot of like just I have to say like white people that get into the self-help and spiritual fields, they make it seem like they came up with the concept. But the concept of like, just allowing life to just flow, this is Eastern philosophy because Eastern philosophy relies a lot on nature and just like us instead of us going against nature, being able to flow better with nature. Nature has seasons that we always talk about when you're in certain seasons like winter and spring and being in a certain moment in life, learning how to flow like rivers, learning how to be grounded like trees. These are things I've been learning from Eastern philosophy. I've been reading something called the Tao Te Ching. It's basically a book. I have it like right here. I have it right here. I know people listening probably can't see it, but basically, it's a book that was written by a philosopher named Lao Tzu. Lao
oh,
Tzu
I know
basically
who
was
that is. Yeah.
okay, great. So basically, he wrote this, or they're not sure if he wrote all of it, but basically, it's kind of like poetry, but it has like truths about how life should be lived. And basically, he stresses a lot of like going with the flow. This has been helping me a lot because I have a lot of goals. Like when I had the goal of writing my book, I had a goal and I was very strict about how I wanted everything to pan out.
Right, right. Jump right back into it. Sorry, we had a little technical difficulty on my end. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yes, Tabari, you were telling us about the book.
Okay, so basically, I was reading something called The Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, and basically, it's a book full of like philosophy, and it's a book full of like kind of like poetry to me, and basically, it's talking about nature, and like I said before, about us flowing with nature. It's also talking a lot about how we need to break out of materialism, which is something that is completely Western now and
Yeah.
American to be materialistic. And it's actually something I've gone on in therapy and through other people of talking about like how can
Yes.
I have these goals, want things, not starve to death, but also like be at peace. And that's why I kind of went into this philosophy of Taoism, which is the Tao Te Ching was like
Yes.
written upon. And basically it's just about acting without forcing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the concept of like what people say, let go, let God, but it's not about doing nothing. That's what I like about it.
Mm.
He stresses nature because nature is always acting, but it's never going to force an outcome.
Right,
The whatever's going to happen in winter, it's not going to be forced into summer.
right,
We might have some moments where the weather is doing something or some things are kind of weird, but it never forces itself out of its season.
right.
And that's what I think is so important for us to be able to embody is that don't force outcomes. If you're in a certain season of being alone or a certain season of being around people, you're in a certain season, do what you have to do to get through the day. Whatever you have to do, working, studying, sleeping, whatever you need.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about thinking my life is supposed to be like this. A
Right.
flower doesn't think I'm supposed to look like this. It just allows it to grow,
Yeah.
you know? Or like I was talking about with a friend of like the concept of like a volcano eruption. To us, that is like that's bad. We see that as a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But in nature, that's normal.
Yeah.
It's normal. It's natural. We're like it's supposed to not erupt. It's not supposed to burn down our homes, which is tragic. But that
Mm-hmm.
is just the way of nature.
Yeah.
So I think in our own lives, we have to stop forcing the current of our own lives,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Yeah. And it's really cool because for like months, I would pronounce the word wrong because it starts with a T.
Hmm.
So I would say Taoism or Taoism, but it's Taoism, folks. It's Taoism. Okay,
Yes.
nice.
Hmm.
Tabari. Okay. Um, so that actually reminded me of our topics. Atta- uh, it was, let me go back on it. I said it earlier. It was detachment and acceptance. I have no clue what to say
Hmm.
about that. I'm just going to let you take over. Why
Okay,
those
so
topics?
at the time, it was something that I needed. It kind of can come back full circle we were just talking about, but
Yeah.
detachment is usually something that's seen as really bad.
Mm,
But really, it's less about detachment, it's more about non attachment. It's more about, and that's why I was kind of getting into like Buddhism. Like, I've been getting into Buddhism on and off for years
yeah.
and trying to understand, like, how do I want things, but
Right.
also stop attaching to the wrong things.
Mm,
And basically, when I talk about detachment, I'm talking about detaching from thoughts in
mm,
ways of life that you think you're supposed to be like.
mm,
Detaching from these negative thoughts, just allowing your brain to tell you what it's telling you and being able to just accept or just, listen to what your brain is telling you. When we talk about detachment, I'm talking about also like detaching from concepts of what you think life should be for you, people that you think should be around, the relationship that you feel like you should be in right now.
mm,
It's also being able to detach from the past of who you used to be and feeling like, you know, these mistakes I made in the past, they define who I am now. So it's being able to be open to life, being open and stop like rejecting things so easily. Like, okay, detachment for me leads into the concept of shame. When we
Mm,
talk about shaming ourselves for certain things and mistakes that we made in the past, we reject and we immediately reject that. When I talk about the acceptance part of detachment, it's about like it's about embracing the parts of us that we think are shameful
mm,
and being able to actually like listen to it and have a moment with what we're ashamed of and then being able to release it. And that was coming from my own experiences because throughout college I had made a lot of stupid mistakes financially, a lot of loans, a lot of friendships that have ended for me, that has been like really really tragic for me. And I
mm,
really had to practice the idea of detachment of like, I'm not a bad person. I didn't cause all of this to happen. It
mm,
wasn't my intention for my life to be certain ways.
mm,
And I don't need to have 10 different friends around me. So I had to let all these things go
mm,
and being able to accept this is fine. Like if I'm alone right now, this is fine. I'm not ashamed of what I said before because that's a past version of myself.
mm.
This is a current version of myself. So it's really a lot. It was a lot of processing I've been going through, and that's what kind of led me to this topic. But I'm interested what you think about this in your own life when it comes to acceptance or just detaching from concepts that are not aligning with who you want to be.
Yeah, that's interesting that you asked that. I was, let's see, last year, I would say for last year, how about this? I'll just stick with last year. Last year, before I started my PhD program, was one of the hardest years. Um, and I kind of was forced to let go and detach. I was
Mm-hmm.
forced to learn, unlearn, and let go. I was forced to. Um, am I grateful it happened? I'm grateful for the outcome. If I'm being honest, I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful for the outcome. It really sucked, though. It really sucked. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, I'm grateful for it, and I actually am thankful for it, but it hurt though. And for me at least, not saying this is the same for everyone, but for me at least, the reason why it hurt so much is because I held on so hard. Um, Not saying that it wouldn't hurt regardless. I just think that it hurt more because that's how like attached to expectations and how things should be, and this is when it should happen. Here's this timeline, you know. I tell you what, I saw the benefit of Taoism after the fact. I was like, yeah, that would have been a lot easier. So it was just it really showed up last year. You know, it's kind of like my higher self um, was always like slowly or just like lightly like pushing me in the right direction. But last year, I just I wasn't getting the picture. So last year, when last year happened, it was um, it was very, yeah. I would say even after like my suicide attempt, I would say you heard about that, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would say like this the person that walked into that hospital was not the person that walked out of that hospital. You know, I would say that was kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not saying that should happen to people, no. I'm just saying, like, for me, that was like the catalyst. That was like the catalyst. It was a whole spiritual awakeness year, full force, full throttle. Um, yeah, so to answer your question, That's how that's shown up in my life last year. I had to let go of I was forced to let go of so many things, just so many expectations. I can't like name them all right now because it was so much. It was definitely a battle because I was so attached to that idea like, no, this is how this should be at this time. Because if it was like this at this time, I wouldn't be hurting right now, or I would be happier right now. You know, yes, to answer that question. And then,
Hmm.
oh, go ahead, Tari.
Yeah, and I think with that, it's been the same thing for me. I'm in school right now. I'm in my dorm right now. I'm still navigating through school in my own way, and I think that for me, I've been very frustrated with the system
Yes.
that we're in as far as school. I've been very frustrated with obviously how much money it is, and it's just a concept I was thinking of the other day. I was just like, how I understand that if we don't like pass a class, we don't get the proper grades, I guess they keep us back. But some professors are very strict, and I think they forget that we're the clients, that we're the ones paying the money for them to show up. There is no professor without student. There is no school without student.
Mm-hmm.
We technically are the we're the ones paying.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's felt like there's a resistance against me as far as just wanting to do something positive in the world, go to
Mm-hmm.
school for psychology. I'm trying to do something good for the world, but you guys are meeting me with like financial problems and like just making it very strict to do certain things in class. If I miss something, I'm just gonna fail. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
like you're making it harder on me to just do something good for the world. You
Right.
know, we
Yeah.
need certain degrees, we need these people, and you're making it harder. And I think with that, the reason why I bring that up is because I started to resist this whole process. So I can be very rebellious if I feel like I'm being mistreated. So I'll be like, I'm not going to class. I don't need to listen to y'all. I'll do things on my own time, you know. But that was making my life harder. Like attaching to that concept of like this is against me, everything is against me. It's making it harder on me. That was making me suffer. That was making me very unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to let that go. It's a lot of just mindsets that we hold on to that we have to learn how to let go. And I really want to go back to detachment, but also talk about the opposite of that, attachment. What is that? What does it mean when we attach? We attach to everything. We attach to the identities that we have, the beliefs that we have, the people around us, the relationships that we have. We're always attaching, we're always
Mm-hmm.
gripping something.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to go with the flow in life, attachment is weighing you down. If you are in a boat or on a ship in a river, what's holding you down is the anchor. The anchor is the attachment. You can't flow with life. You can't flow with what God or the universe is trying to put in your life because you're attaching to things. And when you're attaching to things, your hands are closed. Your hands are closed and you're not able to hold on to the new things the universe is trying to give you. The new mindset, the new friends. If I'm stressed out about school, rebellious not going to class, then this is slowing me down. I'm not gonna be able to get through school ever, you know, because I'm attaching to a concept that came up in my mind. And it may have some truth to it, but it's not helping me.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned this a lot through the relationships too. This is where I think I really came to attachment, detachment, because I am a big friend person. I love my friends. When I started freshman year of college, I had like 20 friends here at the school, like I could
Mm-hmm.
talk to. Now, in my senior year, I probably have less than five at this
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
having to let go of all those people and then having to process that, like, there's something wrong with me because why do all these people keep leaving my life? And I was really just attaching to something's wrong with me. I'm crazy. Something is really wrong with me. How can I talk about self help and all this stuff and I just my relationships keep blowing up? So that's where I got to this idea of attachment and where it's like some people are gonna be in your life for a time and a reason, and then they're gonna go. And then if the relationship didn't work out and I did make a mistake, that's fine because we're past that. So I'm not gonna attach and cling to the past because I'm trying to progress, you know?
That's interesting you say that. Yeah, like what's up with that? Like I remember like for example like high school like freshman year I had so many friends and then senior year it was like so little. Same way with like my undergrad. um uh, Two things that you mentioned. One um yeah, like um you mentioned resistance. That's something that I forgot to
Mm-hmm.
mention of something that happened last year is the resistance also made it harder for me. The resistance,
Mm-hmm.
like resisting and not letting it flow, not letting things just flow, you know? Um, and it could be a multitude of, things, not necessarily just physical, but just the way life was going, not being present, not just not flowing. I don't know how else to explain it, but just resisting, resistant to change, resistant to something that doesn't look like my expectations, resistant to something that is doing something the opposite of my expectation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Resistant to rejection from jobs. You know, when I'm glad that I was rejected because I probably would have went. Because now I'm in a PhD program and they pay for me and they gave me a job and this is my dream. I'm literally living my dream, literally. Um, but also commenting on the friends situation, yeah, like three of the closest, and I mean closest people um, that also is no more as of last year. Um, yeah, it just, and I had those questions, and I started kind of beating myself up and saying, "Oh well, I suck at male friendship. Well, straight identifying male friendships anyway. Oh well, men suck, you know." And then I got into the point where I was just like, why does this always happen to me? What am I doing wrong? Things like that. I don't know. It's just was interesting that those closest to me, I felt like got ripped from me. Um, and so when I was saying earlier that I was kind of like forced to uh, um, detach and to practice that and to
Mm-hmm.
accept that because there was no other options. Like the universe and my higher self is like, this is gonna happen, and you're gonna have to sit
Mm-hmm.
in it in order to sit in it for a while to learn to accept it. And that's also another thing, learning to accept. That can be a process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that you said that.
It's what it's about is control.
Yes,
We
that
are
too.
resisting
Yeah.
because we have control issues. We're
Mm-hmm.
resistant to change because we want to control the outcome. We want to
Mm-hmm.
control the process. We want to control everything. And that's the problem. Like, we have to learn how to do our part, let God or whatever you want to call it, the universe, do its part. And we won't let that happen because as human, we're built on so much logic. We have to see the beginning, middle, and end. But it's like we just won't allow the story to pan out. It's like its own way. We don't know how to just do our part and let go of the rest. We really don't. Like in iCarly when she said leave it all to me, I feel like that's what God or the universe is always trying to say, like, leave it all to me and we're gonna be fine. And I don't know. I don't know. Really, actually, I want to go to that because it's funny because iCarly low key has been gospel for me because she's like, live life, breathe air. I know somehow we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
I
And
really
it's
like
like,
that
oh,
line
okay.
because it's just like, I don't know. Like, it's like staying young and free, like, all the time. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna get there. I don't know how that's gonna happen for me. I want it, I'm gonna do things to get it, obviously, but I'm done stressing about trying to get there. I'm done. I don't know how. I really don't. All these goals I have for myself, and I have a lot of like very like high achieving goals, and I'm just not built to rigorously make myself suffer every day to get towards these goals. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have peace on my way to these goals. The only way to do that is for me to release control. Like, okay, like I trust I'm going to get there. The reason why we control is because we don't have trust. I don't like, we're not trusting in the unknown, the unseen. We're like not trusting that maybe that friendship was not meant to stay. We're not trusting that. They were like, oh, we need to force it to still work. We need to keep these people. We're not trusting that maybe I'm meant to have three friends right now. Maybe I'm not meant to go outside right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm meant to go outside right now. Like, it's all these things, but we have to learn how to trust and we have to learn how to go with the flow. When we are resisting and trying to control, we're going upstream. We're not flowing with the stream anymore. We're trying to paddle the opposite way and hoping that we get to where we're going. But if we just let go for a second, let our boat turn around downstream, allow ourselves to flow, we'll get to the ocean. We will get to the place we've been trying to get to. We have to trust that the wind will take me where I need to go. The river will take me to the path. We have to trust that. We have to trust this mysterious force that we don't understand called God or the universe. We need to trust in that mysterious force. Or like I guess in Taoism when it talks about the Tao, we need to trust in that mysterious force that is just constantly making nature flow. So it will constantly make me flow where exactly I'm supposed to be. Maybe I will not be CEO, top company, $100 million a year. Maybe I won't be the biggest singer, the biggest dancer, the biggest, just amazing everything, perfect person. Maybe I'm not going to be that, but I need to trust that whatever I'm going to get into or wherever I'm going to be is exactly where I need to be.
Mm-hmm.
There is no more of this like past me, present me, future me. I'm just always me where I'm supposed to be,
Right.
you know?
Right.
We have to learn how to accept that and trust that and stop trying to control that all the time,
Yeah.
you know?
You know what helps me? That was beautiful, beautifully said. You want to know what helps me? What started helping me?
What's that?
I was just
What's
like,
that?
oh, well, this is probably part of the soul contract. It's just like, yep,
Mm-hmm.
soul contract. That's what that is. That's what helps me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what helps me just be like, it's taken care of. Um, you know, um, it's it's taken care of, and though my emotions or my intellect may not understand it right now, or may not understand it in this human body, um, I'm just like, there are just some things that I'm just like, it is so strategic how they all happened. Just I just look at I'm not just talking about the what we define as good things. I'm also talking about things that we define as the bad. I don't. I'm trying to get away from that word. Let's say the things that hurt us. How about that? At least I'll
Mm-hmm.
speak for me. Like the things that hurt me, like the removal of those friendships that I thought would last forever, and there was a removal of a lot of other people as well that I just, though they weren't like super close to me, but it's still, I it, the removal, um, I was just like, it's so strategic how this is all happening. It's so strategic. I was like, the timing of this, I was like, ain't no fucking way. This is not just happenstance. Like, I was like, no, this, yeah, I was like, okay, no, this is a soul contract. Yep, this is, yep, okay. That's, yep, sounds about right. Um, and something else to Tabari, um, that's helped me get to this point of where I'm at now is I felt like I was forced back into my addiction. I can't explain it. I'm not blaming any human necessarily. I feel like, and this is just me, I feel like it was part of my soul contract to experience addiction. So I
Mhm.
did relapse, and it just, for the life of me, I just couldn't break out of it. And I wanted to go to therapy. I didn't have the money for therapy because I didn't have a job. The insurance was going down. This, and that.
Mhm.
It's just like
Mhm.
everything, so much more areas in my life just strategically um, disappeared or shrunk to mold me into something. Now, I'm I'm not you know how people say if you saw what would happen, you might not do it because you would see
Mhm.
what you would have to go through. Oh no, 1000%. I never understood that. Well, I mean, I understood it, but I would never was the person to be like. I mean, I used to be like, yeah. I mean, I'd still go through it. After last year, no, no, no. I was just like you. Yes, higher self, you are lucky you didn't show me because if you did, I wouldn't do it because I would not subject myself to that. My human self would not allow me to be subjected to that. But
Mhm.
what helped me was I was just like, you know what? That's clearly my soul contract. There are already
Mhm.
dates planned. There are times already planned. Um, times, I don't mean time as in like earth time. I mean time as existing all at once time, not necessarily past, present,
Mhm.
future. You know how earth, we're very linear with time, past, present, future, when really time is
Mhm.
just, it's just is we put that construct on time and said this is past, present, future, but it never used to be like that. Anyways, yes, yeah, Tabari. So that's just something that's helped me is like, yeah, well, this is my soul contract. Because the amount of the rejections that I started getting, okay, because Tabari, this is the thing. Not only was I qualified for those jobs, I was overqualified for many of them as well. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
was like, the interview was great, and then there were some jobs where Tabari, I am great at interviews. I am great at interviews. However, for some reason, some of those interviews, I just forgot everything. I just forgot everything, and then after the interview, everything would come back. And that never happened to me. I was like, this is strategic. The amount of rejections, this is strategic. And then I started seeing signs. I started seeing the most randomest signs. I started seeing number synchronicities. I started seeing animals that um, you don't like see in that area of Texas where I lived. And I was like, the universe is sending signs. Higher self is sending signs. And then, lo and behold, you know, a week or two later, I get the offer of my life, and now I'm living my dream. However, so all that rejection, and I guess I know the rejection was it needed to happen, but all that other pain, as my human self, I mean, I'm like, was all that necessary for me to get here, or maybe it was just a fine tuning or something? But um, the pain, I'm just like, could I have done without? Because if I could have, I would have. But it still all taught me something. I can say that, and I'm not just being cliche because I know I've heard many people in the past try to like gaslight me and turn a bad story into something good when and they can end up invalidating the complexities and the hurt unintentionally, but they can end up invalidating that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm like literally from the pain I did learn a lot of things. I see that the pain didn't happen in vain. And I'm glad I got to see that because there have still been times like in my life previously, like childhood, where I still don't see the I still see like some of the pain did go in vain, even though it probably didn't. But I still see that. But what I'm talking about from last year, it was tons of pain. none of it went in vain, and I am grateful for that, and I'm grateful I got a payoff. I mean, I'm grateful I got to live my dream because usually I wouldn't see breakthroughs and stuff like that. I would see nothing huge happen from the rejections, but this time I did, and I got to experience a lot of things. Like I got to experience justice for the first time. Like if I was not in that environment, I still would not ever know what justice felt like. Yes, though what happened was not like good, you know what I mean? Like being sexually harassed by a male employee. Let me stop. I almost said, of course, but not all men are like that, Josias. That's right. But eh, so what I did was I contacted their HR and the manager, and I got the guy fired. And they were very empathetic towards me, and someone who's been sexually abused as a child, I never knew what justice felt like. But last year, because of that situation, I knew what justice felt like. So it's because I was in that environment, because I was back home with my narcissist mother, and I think she really is narcissistic. I think she does suffer from narcissist personality disorder. But the reason why I say the environment is because I was pushed into that. I was pushed in back into that environment. I had nowhere else to go. Everything that I had planned just was
Mm-hmm.
crumbling, and so it was literally the definition of it happening for a reason. A lot of tears, though. A lot of tears. Um, but there are some things that a lot of things where I'm just like, it was so much pain, but I'm so glad that I actually got to see and get to experience like the benefits from that pain. Like it didn't
Mm-hmm.
just happen. Like wow, like I learned this now. Like wow, I'm now it's now easier for me to go with the flow, like I didn't realize how much I didn't go with the flow until I learned to go with the flow, you know?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is like what I've learned too as I was studying one of the laws of going into the law of attraction, right? Where we feel like we can manifest exactly what we want, which is true. However, what I've discovered more recently is that when we're manifesting things and we're having patterns show up in our lives, it is directly correlated to the shadows in our subconscious. So the point of attraction is a lot of words people use. The point, the thing, the way, the thing, the magnet is your subconscious thoughts and patterns and your conscious thoughts and patterns. And a lot of times, if we're resistant, we have all these resistant beliefs to life, self worth issues in our subconscious, we will attract the situations that will mirror that to our subconscious as well. A lot of us think that we're in control when it comes to the law of attraction, but it's the stuff in your subconscious from childhood, all this stuff that has happened. It's like, why does this thing keep happening to me? I'm keep trying to plan for better, but this same thing keeps coming to me. That's because there's something subconsciously going on within our minds that is attracting the situation again. You know, we have the resistance going on internally, and then life is reflecting it out to us so we can untie that knot. We have a knot on the inside of us, all these knots, and life is reflecting these bad things to us because we're meant to untie that. And you know, I would say I do disagree with people saying that pain always gives you a gain or treasures or benefit. It's up to you, really, because you see, we can see so many people that are genuinely miserable in life. This could be any money, any tax bracket, any person. A lot of people are very miserable. That's because they have experienced a lot of pain
Mm-hmm.
and did not know or could not process it to get to the benefit of it if there was one, you know? And a lot of people get stuck in that. They still get stuck in it. They go through the pain and then they have the belief get reinforced and they go through the pain again. The belief gets reinforced. It's like the belief keeps getting stronger because they
Mm-hmm.
keep going through the pain. But it really takes a very aware, spiritually tapped into yourself type of person to be like, oh, maybe I'm going through this because of what I believe or what I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I'm not meant to have this in my life, or certain things like someone that has had a childhood of poverty, like I did at a point, is that you could just start to attract situations where you're always blocked from a job or always blocked from money,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not, obviously we all want money and to and to eat, but mentally you might kind of feel like, I don't deserve this, or I'm gonna just try this out, hopefully it works, but like subconsciously it's like, I don't deserve money. Money is not easy, money is hard, the job market is bad, you know
Mm-hmm.
these beliefs are also attracting these situations as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why we need to be able to almost like, after it's all over, be like, we got to get in a state where we almost can laugh at it, like, oh, okay, that was supposed to happen, that was supposed to happen, the way it happened is supposed to happen,
Yeah.
and I'm through it now. And you know what, I'm gonna be consciously aware something better will come, you know
Yeah.
and it's just through the way you process the situations and the patterns.
Mm-hmm.
That's what matters. It's not
Yeah.
about, we get so focused on what has happened to us. We don't focus on why or how we process that. That's what it's
Yeah.
about, you know?
I agree. And to add on to that, I that's why I think it's so important to learn ourselves, learn our patterns, get to know and learn our inner child, because doing those things we can help, it can help us learn that subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
because that thing is powerful, because some people, a lot oftentimes, myself included, have operated in the subconscious but not even know it. It is like kind of like a blind biases. It's so you're normal that you don't realize it, that you don't recognize it. Other people may recognize it, but you won't recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so important. And I'm starting to learn, and I've been learning this, but when I first found out about subconscious, I thought it was a bad thing, and I recognize now that um, my view of the subconscious stemmed because of the trauma in my childhood, the trauma that I have to and had to heal from
Mm-hmm.
and heal with. You know, notice how I said from and with. Um, um, but because I'm recognizing that a lot of the coping mechanisms that a lot of the what is now unhealthy coping mechanisms that my mind and my body developed, I recognized that it was survival. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I said heal from and with, to recognize that, yeah, I heal from some stuff, but also had to heal with some stuff, to just be like, okay, it did become in a more inclusive healing journey, where I had to include those parts of me that I didn't want to include. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Such as the addiction. It got to a point where I even thanked my addiction. I'm not saying everybody do that. I'm just saying me, folks. I'm not. Everyone's story is different, but I thanked my addiction, because I recognized that my addiction was a matter of survival. It was survival. This is what the addiction
Mm-hmm.
brought me. Um, you know. But anyways, yes, the subconscious. It's very important to learn that thing, and learning yourself, your patterns, and your inner child, getting to know your inner child, and giving love to your inner child. I mean, that really can just help us, um, uncover any blindnesses that we may have, you know, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of stuff, a lot of things that we do, so much that we do, is comes from our subconscious. And humans in the world of imperfection, it's not going to be perfect, and what are those imperfections in that subconscious? What are they? Are they, you know, um, manifesting things that continue to harm you? Like, what is that doing? So something interesting. So I'm back in therapy. Fun fact, I'm back in therapy, and I think what I'm going to talk
Hmm.
about next week is, when I go back to therapy, uh, delve a little bit more into subconscious. Because,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. hmm But yeah, also, going back a little bit to the law of attraction, I want to know your thoughts on this. So this is kind of what I got from law of
Hmm.
attraction last year, is that yes, that stuff does work. It does work. However, you can manifest, for example, like I can manifest $1 million all day, or a relationship. There you go. Let's do a relationship. Let's connect to everybody. Let's say I can manifest a relationship all day, say all the right words,
Hmm.
think the right things. However, if it's
Hmm.
not supposed to come at that time, it's not going to come at the time. Because if that relationship did come, it would have. If the relationship did come when I manifested it, it would have ruined the journey. Though it would have felt great. It would have felt great. It would have been great. It would have been a lot better than the pain that I went through. You know, However, that's the thing. I wouldn't have gone through if that relationship came. And we can tie that to anything. Like, I manifested $10 million or being rich and wealthy. It will happen. It just won't happen, let's say, tomorrow, because it's not time. What do you think about that?
Hmm. I think that's accurate. I think that's what I figured out. I've also figured out for myself that because I've been a huge law of attraction person, and because it has worked for me. Like there has worked for me. Like this computer that I'm on right now. This was given to me by my high school. This MacBook I'm on was given to me for completely for free, randomly.
Nice.
The day before, during quarantine, it was given to me, brand new, and all I did was like a few days. I didn't even know it was gonna be a raffle at the school. I didn't know nothing about it, and basically, I was just saying affirmations like I'm successful, I'm a winner, I always win things. And then there was a raffle of 400 people, and I won this computer, only person. And just stuff like that has happened to me, and there's been other stuff, but it's like that was like okay, this works. I'm seeing it for myself.
Yeah.
But the message I want to put out there is that if you're even clinging to a law of attraction too much can just make you unhappy
Mm.
because you really think you're in control of everything. You're not.
Right.
You're not. I had to realize that you're not.
Mm.
You're very powerful, but we're just not in control of everything,
Right.
and we're not in control of the timing. So it's like we can our control issues of our ego can even bleed out into the law of attraction because we
Yes.
think we are the master of our entire lives and we can do
Yeah.
everything perfectly. But as you know, with our subconscious, we have blind spots, just like when you're driving. But that's the point of like therapy and other people is that they can see what you don't see
Right.
because everybody has blind spots. Everything has a shadow, everything. And yeah, I think when it comes to law of attraction, I think timing is important because maybe if you got the $1 million now, maybe you wouldn't have helped these 20 people you were supposed to help
Mm-hmm.
between 2025 to 2027, the relationships you're supposed to be in, the ways you're supposed to help other people, and you're supposed to make this happen. It's variables that we can't see.
Yeah.
That's the thing people don't understand. It's not fast food. That's not
Mm-hmm.
how law of attraction works. So because if you even go and look at certain celebrities, because that's what I did, I was like, okay, well, what are they doing that I'm not doing? You
Mm-hmm.
know, when you go and listen to their stories, listen to how long it took them to get to where they are.
Yeah.
Tabitha Brown says she worked for 20 years before she blew up. She started blowing up when she was like 40.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or a bunch of artists, Sabrina Carpenter, 10 years. She was on Disney Channel when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
Chaperone. All these people took 10 plus years to manifest what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And we don't see that. We just see where they're at
Right.
now. So like that was a big thing I needed to learn is that it's more about the journey. It is about the journey. It's
Mm.
not about the destinations. Even when you get to the destination, a new journey starts. So
Right.
it just never stops. So
Right.
there's no point. There's no point in being mad at not being rich now.
Yeah.
There's no point in being mad about that.
Right.
There's no point in being mad about not having a relationship because that was a big thing for me. I feel like so many people around me or just in the world have these like relationships and it just came to them and it was easy. And then for me, it wasn't. But it's like, how do I know that's not going to be a detour on my journey right now? Like,
Right.
that is not. Maybe I'm the people around me that, like, in my city, in my state, maybe they're just not for me
Mm-hmm.
and they are going to take me off my path
Yeah.
of what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I need to trust that the right person will just randomly come in and I will be ready to receive that relationship.
Yeah.
Also ready if the relationship needs to end, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just being open to life, being open and stop trying to like resist and control and just do all these things and just be open to whatever you're in right now and whatever's coming
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have full control. We have control over just 1% of the equation, really.
Right.
That's like we can't even see all colors on the spectrum of
Right.
light.
Right.
We can see infrared to ultraviolet
Right.
between the rainbow colors of the rainbow, but we can't see. They said there's infinite amount of colors and light
Yes.
that we can't see. There's
Yes.
sounds that we can't hear. Our dogs can hear. Animals can
Yes.
hear.
Things that they
So
could
as
see
humans,
too. Mm-hmm.
yes, you'll be like the dog can see the ghosts in the house,
I
but
was
I
like,
can't see
yeah,
them.
you can. It can.
We have very limited perception
Yeah.
and you cannot control everything. And the last thing I want to say is that also, for me, for many years, I discovered this in my freshman year. Someone that I follow, he's a very amazing psychic. He's a celebrity psychic. He reads all the celebrities' tarot. Very good psychic. He's predicted a lot of stuff for me. However, I started to get control issues even when going to him. And I'm trying to control everything in my life. And then I noticed, and I think God put it on pause for me because eventually his readings sometimes don't manifest. And I'm like, oh, they didn't happen. And he gives you dates on when things will happen,
Mm-hmm.
exactly when they will happen. And sometimes they did, and then sometimes they didn't. I was like, dang, maybe I changed it because I'm not supposed to always know my future. So, just really bottom line of the whole episode is just let go of control. Let that go. Control the 1% you can do. The rest of it, who cares? Really. That's it.
Yeah. I like that. And last thing, coming from someone who has died and came back to life, I did learn that there are tons of colors that we have never seen before as on this earth as humans. So clock
Mm-hmm.
that. Beautiful, beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful colors. I can't even describe it because there's nothing really to compare it to. I can say something's I don't even want to say something's kind of blue because it's literally not blue, but like it's I can say light and dark. I can say it's kind of like a lighter color, kind of like a darker color. That's all I can say because between me and you, Earth's beautiful and all, whatever, but the colors that we haven't seen, they look amazing. Earth's Earth's
Mm-hmm.
colors are kind of boring in comparison, but that's just me. That's just me. But it's very, very, very beautiful, folks, and we will all be able to see those colors once again. And we all have seen them
Mm-hmm.
before. We just probably weren't humans when we saw it. Or we
Mm-hmm.
were outside of our body, before we. But let me be quiet. Let me be quiet before I confuse some people and make them shut the show off. um, but alrighty, everyone. Well, okay. Remember to buy Tabari's book. It'll be in the episode description below, folks. And remember to share this podcast with someone. It'll really help now. Why? Because I don't have Instagram anymore, and I'm not gonna get an Instagram anymore. Um, because it makes me relapse into my well, Instagram was a part of me relapsing into my addiction. It wasn't a social media addiction, no, but I used social media for my addiction. I did, folks. And so we glad that it's deleted and we're gonna keep it deleted because I am almost
Mm-hmm.
101 days sober. So we're gonna keep it that way. We're gonna keep it that way. Alrighty, Tabari, thank you so much for coming on. It was good to see you. I will see y'all next episode for whatever that episode will be.